Dylan, pronouns he, him, calling from Colorado, doesn't think voting's effective. Hey, Dylan, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Matt? How are you doing, Jovan?
Chilling.
Yeah, whatever.
Good. Right. Can you guys
so
hear me
real? Yeah.
Jovan
awesome.
was just laughing
Well,
at the number of the zero fucks I have left today, but it's nice.
Well, I hope, I hope I don't make that any worse. I do have to point out, I have reasonable suspicion to believe that you guys are smuggling cocaine, so I'm going to need the DEA's on the way to your locations to inspect your genitalia.
It's all right. I'll just send you a dick pic. You don't have to pretend.
I don't know who's posting comments from the Lines channel today, but they said cocaine, and I lost it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That is Arden, the love of my life,
Arden,
and funny
so
than any of us.
So funny.
Right. Well, yeah. So as I call listed, I'm in my young 20s right now. The first two elections that I had the opportunity to vote was the 2020 and then this recent one, and I chose not to vote in either one. I had considered voting for Trump and
Thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing.
Well, I would have voted for Trump in 2020. I opted not to, and then this election, I didn't even come close to voting for Trump. I think.
Well, wait. So you're an atheist who would have voted for Trump in 2020, and would have possibly voted. Sorry, what?
I was 18 years old and wasn't read up on politics too much at the time. So now I would never vote for Trump. But back then, I had.
But you didn't vote. You didn't vote.
No.
So did you have any indication that what's happening now was likely to happen? Because some of us were screaming it from the rooftops.
Well, I think what's happening now is a problem of the two-party system in general. I don't think
You're
Kamala
so full
or
of
Biden
shit.
would have
You
made
are
it.
still just as stupid about politics as you were when you were 18 and uninformed. This isn't a problem with the two-party system. This is called fascism. This is called Christian nationalism. This is Project 2025. You need to go learn some shit and stop thinking that you got out from under the stupidity you had at 18, because you are doing nothing to help anything and you don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know that it's Christian nationalism, considering Trump identifies as Jewish, but.
No, he fucking doesn't, you dipshit. And it's Christian nationalism that are the handlers behind him, Project 2025. Are you even fucking for real, Dylan? Because I think this is a prank call that somebody called in to say, how many stupid things can Dylan say in 10 seconds? Trump doesn't identify as Jewish. And even it wouldn't matter if he did. It's still Christian nationalism. It's still Project 2025. It's still what we've been shouting all of this fucking time. How can you go from recognizing that you're too fucking clueless to staying too fucking clueless and thinking that you have a clue?
I don't know that I have a fair response, Matt. I mean, you're saying that I don't have a clue because I didn't vote. And I think that
no, I said thanks for nothing because you didn't vote. You didn't do anything to stop this. Then I asked if you had any indication that this would happen. Do you think that any of the things that Jovan and I are objecting to right now would be happening if Kamala Harris had won?
Could you specify that a bit more?
No, because you want to remain clueless, but Jovan might specify more because my patience with dipshits is done.
Here's what I'll say, because I think you are not coming from where I would be coming from, Dylan, right? I recognize one of two things. I'm staunchly anti-capitalist. I recognize that there's nobody I can vote into power in the United States that will end United States capitalism, that will end U.S. imperialism. So I recognize that, like, if I voted or not, we're still going to destroy the global South. We're still going to prop up slavery in the Congo and Sudan. We're still going to do all this terrible stuff. I also recognize that if I vote for the Democrats, at least here at home, less trans people are going to die, less people who are minorities are going to die, less black people are going to die, less people of color are going to die. I recognize all of this at the same time. So when I look at voting, I go, with my vote, what is going to mitigate the most harm? Do you believe in mitigating harm?
I do believe in mitigating harm, but as I said, the problem with the two-party system, and as I was kind of discussing to one of my cousins, is why I didn't vote and he did, and he voted for Trump, and I said that was a terrible mistake. And I said, what you get by voting is letting these people know that they're allowed to put into positions of election, like they're putting in candidates in front of us who nobody really supports. I'm not sure whether, as I said, you two have said that you support voting for Democrats. Were you particularly fond of Kamala as a candidate?
No.
No.
I thought there were a lot of shortcomings for Kamala. I thought, first of all, her name's Kamala. There were a lot of shortcomings. I think the Democratic Party as a whole picks terrible candidates. I think every time a good candidate comes up, the Democrat base tries to knock them down. Look at what they're trying to do to Zoran Mamdani. However,
Right.
I know that if Kamala Harris had been president, we wouldn't have the deportations the way they are going right now. We wouldn't have trans rights being stripped on federal levels. We wouldn't have we most certainly wouldn't have had Planned Parenthood defunded the way it has been through like the big beautiful bill and things like that. So like, I don't know. It seems like not voting is cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I see what you're saying there, and I think the position that I'm coming from, and perhaps I'm wrong, but the position that I'm coming from is by not voting. Sorry.
You are. I'm just making that clear. There's not an if. You are, in fact, wrong. You abdicated your opportunity to make the world a better place or a less worse place. You abdicated your duty as a citizen to both vote for the better option and help save people. You have made a terrible mistake. So while you lecture your friend or cousin or whoever it was about how stupid it was for them to vote for Trump, you did nothing to help.
Well, I feel like, I wouldn't vote for a Democrat ever. So a lot of these issues that we're bringing up.
Then you are an especially buoyant idiot. You're the turd that keeps floating to the top. Because I would vote for Republicans if they were the best qualified candidate and had positions that I supported. I would vote for anybody of any party if, when it comes down to it, they are the best candidate. Because my job is to vote for the better world. The perfect is the enemy of the good. The fact of the matter is that when October rolled around, either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris was going to be president of the United States. There was no other option. There was no other possible vote. But you didn't even say, nope, I'm going to vote on principle and go for green because I won't vote for Democrat, which is similarly stupid. But you abdicated your entire civic duty, which is to say, I know what's getting ready to happen. We're either going to get cancer or we're going to get athlete's foot. We're either going to get skin cancer or colon cancer, if you want to put them both in the cancer category. Would you rather have skin cancer or colon cancer, Dylan? I'm going to leave it up to you to vote. If you say you don't care which, that means you're okay with colon cancer.
I see what you're saying there, but my point is my point that I'm making is that the solution to if I'm going to vote on representative, sorry, I misphrased that. I'm not a particularly good speaker.
Or thinker.
If I was going to vote for either candidate, I would have voted for Trump. And I think that I recognize coming up to 2024 that Trump was a terrible candidate. He doesn't have our interests at heart. He's funded by Musk, the Adelsons, the Mellons, the Griffins, whereas Kamala's funded by Diamond, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates. They're beholden to the same internationalist interests. They don't have.
I'm sorry.
They're selling our country.
You think Mark Cuban and Elon Musk agree on the world?
No, Cuban funded Kamala.
So the fact that there was a billionaire funding one and a billionaire funding the other is irrelevant. There are billionaires funding all kinds of things. What was it about Trump that made him the preferable candidate for you?
He wasn't, which is why I didn't vote.
You literally just said that if you had voted, you would have voted for Trump. That means you think Trump was the preferable candidate of the two, right?
Sure. 2A rights is my number one concern.
So now, instead of pretending that you were too stupid to understand the question I asked, answer it, which is, what about Trump made him the better option in your mind?
Almost exclusively 2A rights. Other than that, I disagree with him on foreign policy, on monetary
So
policy.
you're a fucking gun nut that is willing to throw out everything and everyone else. You are the king of the dipshits. What kind of guns you got? I just bought a shotgun. I just bought a shotgun on Monday. It's awesome. We could go to the range and shoot. You know why? Because I'm working for a better fucking world and you only care about how small your penis is. I'm going to go get a drink.
I care about individual liberties.
You don't care about individual liberties.
No, you don't. You only care about 2A.
I do. I strongly
No, you
do.
don't. No, you wait. Do we have more individual liberties right now with Republicans in office than we would have if the Democrats had been in office?
I think we have less individual liberties on behalf of an overly powerful federal system as compared to what this country started as.
Wait. Please, I asked you a very specific question. Do you think we have more civil liberties right now with a Republican-led administration than we would have had it been a Democratic? Or I'll make it even simpler. Do we have more civil liberties now than we did 4 years prior to now?
I would say no. And I would also concede, looking back on it, I didn't vote because I was afraid this would happen with Trump. Kamala might have been the better vote. Leading up to the election, I had a degree of some slight liver.
You don't have a degree in anything.
Say again?
I said you probably don't have a degree in anything. So basically you're calling in to say that in 2020, you would have voted for Trump, but you didn't, couldn't. And now you would have voted for Trump, but you think you might have been wrong. So basically, did you call in to say you're sorry to all of the people who've lost their rights because you did nothing to protect them?
No, I'm not sorry because my initial point stands that by abstaining.
So you're happy being this stupid and callous. You see, the difference between us is that not only am I a veteran of the United States Navy and a gun owner.
Thanks for fighting for our oil interests.
Shut your fucking pie hole while I'm talking, Dylan. You're learning something right now. Not only am I a veteran and a gun owner and a Second Amendment defender, I also care about the other amendments too, including the ones that allow for individual sovereignty, the one that would allow women the right to vote, the ones that would allow a woman the right to choose with regard to abortion, the ones that allow homosexuals to marry, or for a man and a man to marry whether they're homosexual or not, because marriage is absurd and the government shouldn't have any say in it. But as long as they are, fuck it. Let's open it up to everybody. I'm for individual freedoms and liberties, all of which are gradually being taken away. When you talk about the federal government and overreach, has there ever in the history of the United States been a more obviously fascistic, controlling, marginalizing, rights denying and defying cabinet than this one?
I can make an argument for McCarthyism.
I would argue for the Bush administration, but Matt, I don't disagree with almost anything you just said there.
You're too stupid. I'm gonna leave with Jovan. I'm gonna go get a drink because I'll be back.
I agree with you. Oh God, you're a fucking idiot.
Listen.
Am I not allowed to agree with him?
Dylan. I'm gonna speak very plainly here. Okay. I'm gonna ask you one question. What is the color of your skin?
Why is that relevant?
I promise you it is relevant. I want to see.
It's relevant if I give you the correct answer.
No, it's relevant in both ways. I don't know, hence why I asked. If I suspected it was something, I would just say, are you X? I don't know what you are.
I'm white.
Okay. Do you think that there is a level of privilege that can be had knowing that basically whatever administration is in power, your life will not change as much?
Strongly disagree with. This leads into a conversation about identity politics, and I don't want to spread racial narratives and contribute to, what might come off as hateful and triggering topics. I have my views on it. So if you would like to,
Dylan,
I understand that there are
Dylan, do people of color in this country face disparities that white people in this country do not face?
Yes, and there are disparities that white people face that people of color don't. It goes both ways. Is it disproportionate? Yes.
What are the disparities that white people face that people of color don't face?
I think there's a pretty clear movement across media right now to demonize white people and blame history for all of history for white people's problems, blame slavery on us, even though it was the.
Wait, did I come back to hear that he's actually racist?
Dylan.
No.
Dylan, I just really quick.
Okay.
You want to say blame slavery on like white people, even though slavery in America was strictly a racial practice. White people were not allowed to be owned as property, whereas black people were. So like, I don't know, when white people are owning black world slavery. Okay. I love that. In the US, there were about 15 million to like 16 million black enslaved Africans who were brought here throughout the early 1500s to the late 1800s in the Barbary slave trade, which is one of the few slave trades that were like specifically targeted against white people. How many white slaves were there?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's estimated like 400,000 to 500,000. So like, cool. We can talk about like the rest of the world, but your specific claim was there are disparities white people are facing that people of color don't face. Well, it certainly wasn't slavery.
Very few. And I pointed out at the end that there are more disparities. There's disproportionate disparities that people of color. I acknowledge that.
I'm going to argue that there are zero disparities, any systemic disparities that white people specifically face for the simple fact that they are white. Those don't exist, especially in America.
Okay.
I mean, if you can find one, because right now you go, well, white people are demonized throughout history. Well, whiteness is the number one root of violence throughout history. It has been whiteness. Nope. Judaism is a religion, first and foremost.
Or an ethnicity, depending on who you ask. Pretty convoluted.
No, it's a religion, right? There are white Jewish people.
It's an ethno-religion.
Jewish people. There are Asian Jewish people. Don't know if you know this.
Right.
So when I talk about race, there are three races. It's black, white, and Asian. And basically everything else is a mix of those three races, depending on like where in the world you're located, right? So when I use this phrase and I say whiteness has been at the forefront of most violence in the world, it's because whiteness has been at the forefront of colonization. Post Barbary slave trade, whiteness has been at the forefront of the transatlantic slave trade. Whiteness has been at the forefront of basically all marginalized oppression of people of color in the U.S. and Europe and Africa. So like, that's what I mean, right? So when I ask you like, what is a disparity that white people face for the sheer purpose of being white, you go, well, white people are demonized. White people aren't demonized. Whiteness is demonized. And people who talk about this split up whiteness from white people, right? Whiteness is a tool of oppression that has been used, and talking about that is not demonizing white people. If white people can't understand that they are connected to a problem, that's on them, right? That's not on me to censor myself to be like, oh, we love our white friends. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to address that whiteness has very blatantly targeted people of color, right?
Sure. I mean, I could do the same thing and say the same thing about black culture, and then it wouldn't be the same.
No,
you'd say, no, well, this is systemic. Yes, I can. I can acknowledge that there are aspects of black culture that glorify violence, glorify not obeying the law.
What aspect of black culture glorifies violence that would be separate from white culture? Because I can go tit for tat. Great. Have you ever heard a Slipknot song? We can go tit for tat here, right? I'm sorry. Is The Godfather not one of the most popular movies of all time?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Great. So if we're sitting here going, black culture glorifies violence, when just violence is just a glorified part of human culture. We tend to glorify violence. Agreed. It's something that we tend to like seeing. This isn't a specific thing to black culture. However,
See, that's the difference.
oppression,
What we do there is you're allowed to say. I interrupted. I apologize. Keep going.
yeah, I was going to say race-based oppression is almost exclusive to white culture. I have literature on this if you'd like to read up on it. But race-based oppression, especially in the United States, we'll just focus on the US. Race-based oppression is exclusive to white culture. It is exclusive to white people in the United States. Black people hold no systemic power. Asians hold no systemic power. Indigenous people are the most marginalized and hold no systemic power, even though they were here first. So, like, I'm sorry that white people are not allowed to skirt past, like, the history that they have committed, especially when the 400 years of systemic oppression that has been felt by people of color in this country are still affecting us.
So I'm trying not to steer this towards the way that I want it to go because I don't want to. As I said, I don't want to come in here sounding hateful.
You should absolutely steer it down the bigoted, ignorant rabbit hole that you'd like to engage in. It'll be so much fun because I've already prepared my closing remarks for you while Jovan was talking. So go ahead, take it down whatever route you want because you're almost done.
Sure. I mean, as I said, I think it's a bit hard to phrase. I think I'm going to go ahead and Matt, I'll let you finish up with your closing remarks. I don't really have any constructed or structured way to argue, and I think you guys have made your points, and I'll sit back and think about this.
Cool. Here you go. Your love of guns coupled with your ignorance of history and reality is going to work out in your favor. You're going to get drafted, and they're going to issue you a weapon, and they're going to station you in a U.S. city under martial law, where you can explain to the people who you're shooting how you're doing it to protect their civil liberties because you cared more about your Second Amendment rights than anything else. Go away, little boy. Enjoy your guns. Enjoy your delusions that you're doing anything to make the world better. I don't need uninformed children in their 20s calling in to tell me how they keep not voting and wouldn't ever vote for a specific party, even if they were the better option, because that's an admission that you're not looking for the better option and you don't care about the better option, which is fine because you are too foolish and confused to even know what better means. Go figure out what better means and then do better. Goodbye. I spent a lot of years not voting, Jovan.
Won't someone please think of the white people? We need to protect our white friends. Yeah, I've said very plainly during the election, if you're a person of color and you don't vote, I'm not gonna knock you for how you engage with a system that oppresses you. I'm not gonna knock you at all for that. I think if you're a white person and you don't vote because you're like both parties are the same, I think that shows a level of privilege that I I don't know how to get down with personally.
It's wild. I spent a number of years. So, short version, I joined the United States Navy at 18, right out of high school, instead of going to college or any other option because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have any opportunities. I've come from a kind of a normal, fundamentalist Christian middle class background, but school was boring for me, and I didn't do particularly well, in part because I didn't show up and I didn't stay awake. And I didn't care. There was no one there to inspire me to care about stuff. And as it turns out, I'm an absolutely obsessive learner. And I have spent every year since I graduated high school focused on learning new stuff all the time. Sometimes it's new skills, it's new hobbies. I do stuff at a number of different levels, whether it's video games or origami, whether it's learning philosophy, whether it's studying epistemology, whether it's studying the various arguments for the existence of God. There are a number of areas where I am still a complete idiot. Do not come talking to me about finances, about money, about spending, about investments, about stocks. I'm an idiot when it comes to that sort of stuff. I went to like the Father Guido Sarducci 5-minute university, where the only thing you need to remember about economics is supply and a demand. And that's it. And in my Navy years, I was a full-on Rush Limbaugh ditto head. Like my lunch break, Rush would do a 3-hour show that would span across pretty much everybody's lunch. And my lunch break would be to sit there in my car eating fucking McDonald's on base as I listened to Rush for as long as I could in my lunch break. And I have his books. Well, I might not have them anymore, but I had his books. And one great thing about Mr. Limbaugh is that he's dead. But another great thing about Mr. Limbaugh is that when he was alive, he was very compelling to people who never bothered to look into what he actually said and who never bothered to consider the consequences of those positions on how they would affect other people. And so the sort of privilege that Jovan's talking about, I am the beneficiary, despite being, a reasonably intelligent, largely, well, incredibly handsome, but other than that, religious, kind of average dude. I have bucket loads of privilege. In the United States of America, I am in the privilege or advantage class, and you could just stack them all up. It's huge. And I decided a long time ago that the best thing I could do was to take whatever advantage that gives me and use it to try to make sure that other people don't end up with an advantage like that. Yes, I am actively trying to end it. All you people out there like, look, Matt's trying to oppress us. No, I'm going for equality or equity or however you want to phrase it. I'm trying to make sure that the world gets better for everybody and not just the people I care about or the people like me. Because trust me, there are not very many people that I give a great fuck about on a personal level. And if I kept going like that, if I just ran with it, I could sit back and not care and not vote. And I did. I did not care and not vote for a number of years. I wish I could tell you what it was that woke me up. I wish I could tell you what it was that made me say, you need to care. But I don't remember. Yeah. I just remember starting to actually care.
I want to reiterate something like really important here. Like I'm staunchly anti-capitalist, like to my core. I hate capitalism more than I hate breathing. And I light depression humor there. If there was a universe where it was like Kamala Harris versus Mitt Romney, I probably wouldn't have voted. I probably would have been like, this is going to be our bog standard Bush era Republican, right? Like if they were going to get like Bush era Republicans, you probably wouldn't see me vote as much because they weren't as fucking crazy as MAGA Republicans. Or if there was a universe where there was an effective third party in the United States, I would vote for that effective third party in a heartbeat, right? But I recognize that as much as I hate capitalism, and as much as I hate I hate the Democrats and I hate the Republicans, as much as I hate those people and I hate that they're all simps for billionaires, I recognize that the people, like you said, the people I love are going to be and are currently being hurt more under Trump presidency. Now, that's not to say that trans people weren't victimized during Biden presidency, because they were. Right? That's not to say that black people weren't being gunned down by police under Democratic rule, because they are. But I know I can recognize that at least at the federal level, it's going to get worse for these people, and that the states are going to get more power to make it worse for these people. I don't know what the right answer is, and this is why I say, like, I'm never going to. If a person of color votes for Trump, then I just have an issue with you because you're blind and you didn't look at anything. But I will never argue with a person of color who's like, hey, I don't like either of these. I think both of these. I have trans friends who are like, I'm going to suffer under either of these presidencies, so I'm not voting. And they're trans and they're black, and I'm like, I can't tell you that that's the wrong thing for you. But when you aren't going to suffer, if you are somebody who will not suffer under either of these presidencies, and you choose not to vote, I have a massive problem with that. Just massive. It's just like, you get to enjoy not suffering. So I don't know. It's frustrating as hell.
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month red oak habit, and you're gonna. I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.